There are three ways you can define what a human being is, and I'm going to use the Arabic language. Insan. The root word for this is nosia, and it means forgetful. That is our condition. We forget. And it's not because we want to. Our organism is wired in a way that we just forget. The only way you can remember something is if you have stage 4 cancer, it's just never going to leave you. Every time you feel good, the cancer is, not too fast. Before we talk about what forgetfulness means, let me give you the other two branches or two definitions of what it means to be human. Our primary home is being insan, being an animal who forgets. You want to think about death because you know that when you reflect and contemplate and sit with death, it baptizes or seasons or refines the sort of pleasures you want to have on the inside. It tells you what sort of friendships you want to have, what sort of conversations you want to have, what sort of things you want to pursue. But the problem with thinking about death all the time is it messes up your life. Joy goes away unless you find joy in just being sad. Okay, that's basically the domain of the pessimists and the cynics. Plato, in as much as his philosophy is profoundly inspiring, the truth is it's a sad philosophy of life. Because he doesn't find happiness in life, he doesn't find happiness in sex or money or power. He wants to go to the world of ideas, the world of perfection. The next is called bashar. None of us have the privilege to be forgetful all the time. It just doesn't work. So bashar means that there is this place of forgetfulness. We do whatever, and then all of a sudden, it's like there is this awareness that enters into you. You catch yourself, and you feel really, really bad. And there is no escape from this, by the way. Then there is this last stage, which is called Adam. Adam represents someone who has lived in the world of forgetfulness for a long, long, long time. They also became aware that forgetfulness is a very powerful force that lives inside their psyche. They no longer want to forget. Their relationship with time began to change, their relationship with mortality began to change, everything about them begins to change. And Adam, remember who Adam is. Adam is this entity, supposedly metaphoric, symbolic, lives in the Garden of Eden. His task is really quite simple. Enjoy what God has created for them. Not to give in to basic childish curiosities. As Plato would say, enjoy being in the light. Do not ask to go into a physical body. Now, what happens to Adam is that he has a companion whose name is Eve. Eve is talked to by the serpent. Adam listens to Eve, who had herself listened to the serpent. He takes a bite, and all of a sudden, God catches them and expels them. And they come down to a place called the earth, i.e. the matrix. It matters very little what you do down here. You will never be happy. The problem facing Adam is the following. For those of you who have ever been touched by inspiration, imagine you took a philosophy class, your instructor was really, really good, and then you say, yes, I'm going to continue taking philosophy classes. All because long time ago you were inspired. Take a philosophy class and you say, man, that guy's an idiot. But you have this memory, when I fell in love, I grew wings. And I flew to the gods, and I was inspired. I would write poetry. I would make sacrifices, and I enjoyed making sacrifices. That is what love does to all of us. And then life, of course, gets inside this thing called love, and from within it just begins to diminish or corrode it from within. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, all you have is a memory that this is a woman or a man you fell in love with, but they're just meat now. And you say, I want to go back and fall in love again. The problem that Adam has is, now that he has fallen, he knows what it means to be in paradise. And he knows what it means to be in Exodus, to have been expelled. Down here, what do you find? Nothing. You have desires. And what happens? You have a desire, right? And depending on what the desire is and how intense it is, every desire creates its own poverties. Poverty is a painful emotion. You lack, but you don't want to lack. You want to have it, so you make this journey. So the first stage is you're pursuing the desire. Then you have it. So now that I have what I was looking for, let me go inside it and see what it has. What sort of desires and pleasures it can offer me. Oh man, and you enjoy it. It brings you to life and you want more of it. But as you listen more and more and more, you realize you're beginning to enjoy less and less and less. And all of a sudden, the poverty that once existed, now you are rich. Now you spend your money only to realize after a while, you're simply bored. Now, what Adam has then is, he knows what it means to be alive. He knows what it means to be enlightened. He knows what it means to live through his soul. But he's down here. It's rent, utilities, food, living in society where nobody cares for you. For those of you who've seen this painting, 19th century Norwegian painter named Edvard Munch, he has a series of paintings. One of them is called The Scream. You know, you're standing on a bridge, like almost all of us, and you're screaming. Why would anyone scream? Because you're in pain. And what is it that people who are in pain want? They want to be listened to. They want to be seen. They want to be hugged, cared for. There are people out there, the screamer sees, but he doesn't see on their face any sign of empathy or sympathy or even care. You realize you and I have entered an age where it doesn't really matter how much pain lives inside you and how loud you scream. No one really cares. And no one can care. Life is far too busy for most of us. Adam knows that he has lost something very precious. He's also aware that he is mortal. His time is short, and he wants to suck the marrow out of life. And by that, it means he wants to go back to the Garden of Eden. And if the Garden of Eden is a metaphor that's far too religious for some of you, think of it this way. Long time ago, you wrote a set of poems. You would go home after school or after work, you'd make yourself some food, a cup of coffee, or a glass of water. You would go into your room, lock the door, dim the lights, and spend 5-6 hours writing poetry. You were self-sufficient. You were creative. You didn't have to read books to inspire you. Inspiration oozed out of you. You were like God, creating things. But because we are human animals, we have all sorts of deficiencies and needs and wants. All of a sudden you realize you're no longer the carrier of inspiration. You now hold within you fears. Fears: if I don't go to work, I won't get money, I'll be evicted. I want to call my parents, my boyfriend, my girlfriend. My body needs some exercise. And the moment you step out of your space, inspiration goes away. And of course, when you leave, you say, okay, I'll just go and exercise for an hour. I go back home and write some more poetry. But the problem with inspiration is you have no power over it. It's like a god. It comes when it wills. It doesn't care for your desires. You have no power over gods. And so you have to wait and you wait and you wait. And while waiting, you write poetry only to realize it just doesn't smell right. So you have to wait and wait and wait. 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, you say, I remember those days when I used to sit and write poetry. That is the station of Adam. He wants to just simply be in the cradle of inspiration, creativity. But he's come to realize something. For him to go back to this place of inspiration, he must overcome forgetfulness.